Tonight on the Northwestern News Report, rebuilding Ryan Field. The first schematic design to replace the nearly 100-year-old structure is out. NNN speaks with the project managers about what comes next.
Norris is no longer running on Dunkin'. With the popular chain closing down and coffee prices rising, we'll tell you how students are changing their caffeine habits.
And finally, new Northwestern President Michael Schill loves the wild cats, but he's got a special place in his heart for dogs. We'll explain.
Stories and more tonight on the Northwestern News Report.
It's your news right now. Good evening and welcome to the first Northwestern News Report of the year. I'm Julia Richardson.
And I'm Megla Jalca. Let's dive right into tonight's stories.
Last Wednesday, Northwestern released initial designs for a brand new Ryan Field. The stunning images of the planned stadium show not only the modern design but also the greater stadium complex, which will serve as a year-round community space. NNN's Max Rothfeder breaks down the plans for the new stadium and what it will mean for the Northwestern and the Evanston community.
After nearly a century, the old Ryan Field will be no more.
This is an opportunity to do something with Ryan Field that's needed.
The university released official schematics for the new $800 million football stadium on Wednesday. The images highlight new modern features, including a state-of-the-art canopy, public green spaces, and increased accessibility. All of these to ensure
every single person will have a premium, first-class, and world-class experience when they come into our venue.
While it looks quite large in the images, the new Ryan Field actually features over 12,000 fewer seats. This will give
the best opportunity to not only create a great fan environment for the modern day fan, but also for our venue to be full and packed and loud.
But the community has raised concerns over construction, traffic, and noise.
That's really what's going to happen over this next year, is working both with the city, but with also the community, figure out, can we mitigate and moderate some of the concerns they've had in the past?
While the project is still awaiting final approval from the city of Evanston, plans for construction have been laid out.
The hope is to start construction at the end of calendar year 23 and be ready for that first game in 2026.
The new Ryan Field is going to be built on the same grounds as the old field behind me, but is going to be shifted slightly to the east. The reason? To give more room for community spaces like this one bordering the stadium.
We can create these synergies and areas that our fans can come and participate, do some tailgating.
But these community areas won't just be open on game day. They will be accessible to the people of Evanston year-round.
In a way that can see this come forward as that true community asset that we'd like it to be.
A new Ryan Field for the Cats and for the community. Max Rothfeder, Northwestern News Network.
The university has already begun looking into alternative venues during the 2024 and 2025 seasons. This list includes Wrigley Field, amongst other stadiums in the Chicagoland area.
But in the meantime, our Wildcats are playing hard, both at Ryan Field and on the road. This weekend, the football team traveled to take on number 11, Penn State. Despite cold and rainy weather, the Cats put up a good fight, making advances on 4 fumbles and scoring a touchdown during the third quarter. Northwestern's record is now 1-1 in the Big Ten Conference, following last weekend's loss.
And with a home game this weekend, the football players aren't the only Cats prowling back to campus. Northwestern is set to host Wisconsin for NU's homecoming game this Saturday at 2:30 p.m. Festivities are happening across campus all week, including a pep rally this Friday at 4:30 on Deering Meadow.
Alianza Northwestern's Latinx student organization gathered in the Multicultural Center for the first time since the pandemic. The group rang in the new school year and Latinx Heritage Month with its annual welcoming celebration, Bienvenida. As NNN's Bridget Aduadia reports, it was a full house.
For the first time since the pandemic, the Multicultural Center was alive with Latin music, games, and food. Students kicked off Latinx Heritage Month with Alianza's annual welcoming, Bienvenida.
Here at Northwestern, we're hoping that we celebrate Latino voices more often.
The group was hit hard by COVID, facing challenges such as limited funding from Associated Student Government, low attendance at events, and remote programming.
Once 2021 to 2022 started, we just had to rebuild Alianza from the ground up.
This year, students had more space to talk, dance, and cheer on performers.
It definitely feels a lot like a house party.
The event featured catered food and performances from Ballet Folklorico, Northwestern's traditional Mexican dance group, and mariachi. A night of fun and friends thanks to support from Multicultural Student Affairs. But 2 house floors isn't big enough for such a vast, diverse group of students.
We're many in numbers and we all deserve our spaces. And so I feel like with this event, we want to sort of show that.
Rebuilding community with open doors and open arms. Bridget Adu-Wadier, Northwestern News Network.
Thanks, Bridget. Latinx Heritage Month continues until October 15th, recognizing the anniversaries of independence for countries such as Honduras, Guatemala, Costa Rica, Mexico, El Salvador, and more. Alianza Internal President Andres Polanco Molina says the group plans to celebrate throughout October. To find more events with Alianza, follow them on Instagram at NU_Alianza.
This month also marks National Hispanic Heritage Month. NNN's Michaela Denault shares what one celebration in Evanston means to the larger community.
Flags adorned Fountain Square as Evanston Pride hosted Una Fiesta Hispania last Thursday, celebrating Evanston's Hispanic and LGBTQ+ communities.
I lived here for 20 years and back then you didn't see this kind of thing, so it's nice to see that people are coming out to celebrate this.
The second annual celebration, hosted by Evanston Pride, looks to honor Hispanic heritage with activities and music, a time where Evanstonians come together.
And we're just excited to be out here and shut down Fountain Square and do something fun tonight, bring a little culture to Evanston.
Flamenco dancing, La Loteria games, and tables showcasing Evanston's Hispanic and queer-owned businesses, including Puerta Abierta, Evanston's only Spanish immersion preschool.
Seeing the families bring their kids outside of school and being able to just have fun. It's all about having fun and embracing our culture.
And as music plays and kids hit a piñata, attendees bring community together through culture and celebration during National Hispanic Heritage Month.
It is important to celebrate this every year, to gather with other Latinos from other organizations and to think about unity.
For Fernandez, it's all about creating visibility.
Getting our culture be shown in the community, our children, new generations to feel proud of our culture.
Dancing and celebrating to honor cultures. Michaela Denault, Northwestern News Network.
To know more events happening for National Hispanic Heritage Month, be sure to check out the City of Evanston's website.
Coming up, a community service reopens its doors. We take you inside a treasured Evanston resource.
And a familiar face with a new address. Don't go away.
At Northwestern, we're Wildcats in every way.
Cheer you all to go. Go you Northwestern, fight for victory, sweet victory, spread for the fame of our fair name, and go Northwestern, win that game. Go Cats!
At Northwestern University, we are pioneering innovation and achieving excellence across every imaginable discipline. Northwestern University, the possibilities are endless.
Welcome back. Over the last month, Chicago has felt the effects of the crisis at the southern border like never before. NNN's Logan Schijano takes us downtown to learn more about what's next for the migrants once they touch down in the Windy City.
A bus from El Paso, Texas pulls into Chicago's Union Station last week. It's carrying just some of the over 1,700 asylum seekers that Texas Governor Greg Abbott has recently sent to Chicago from the southern border. While Abbott has come under fire for his lack of coordination, local organizations are helping tackle the challenge. The Salvation Army's Freedom Center in Humboldt Park is providing temporary housing for migrants.
There are beds available. We give them a hot meal. We give them phones so that they can, reach out to their families back home and let them know that they got here safely.
It's something Johannes Favi remembers well from when he came alone to the U.S. from Benin in 2013.
Post my release, just start helping out.
9 years later, he's a coordinator for the Interfaith Community for Detained Immigrants CETA program. It welcomes new immigrants to Chicago with everything from warm clothes to snacks and shoes of all sizes.
They are human beings just like us, so they are in need of support, and this is our time to help them.
Volunteers from the Interfaith Community for Detained Immigrants have been coming here to Greyhound Station for years to provide migrants coming from around the country with much needed supplies. But lately, as this crisis has increased, they're not only coming here to Greyhound, but to Union Station and delivering supplies directly to the hotels where migrants are staying throughout the city.
I actually was able to go volunteer last week at the hotel, and it's definitely something different that I didn't expect to see.
Volunteers working harder than ever.
It's so clear, there's always so much more to be done. There aren't enough hours in the day, and so while I get to come and go, I feel torn when I have to leave again.
And guys, I was there last week when that bus arrived carrying migrants from Texas, and obviously it's been a long and brutal journey for them, but you also got this sense of relief. Many were smiling and waving at the camera. They're happy to be here and eager to get on to the next step in their journey. Guys?
An Evanston shop is reopening its physical venue after a COVID hiatus. NNN Liz Castello sized up the space.
In the District 65 headquarters, this store doesn't lead to a storage closet. There's something you might not expect right behind those windows, a fully stocked kids' clothing store. The Evanston School Children's Clothing Association, known as Eska, has served K-8 students since the 1930s. But there's something unique about this store.
It's 100% free.
The nonprofit works directly with the district to identify families in need.
A family expresses a need either to a school social worker or to a health clerk.
Eska's volunteers and affiliates try to cater to all.
A family recently arrived from Central America and literally came with backpacks and nothing else. And they'd arrived on Tuesday night and they were able to get clothes on Saturday.
Another priority, maintaining anonymity.
Clothing is something that they can visually see on somebody else and feel proud and dignified when they walk in. Nobody know who an Eska kid is.
But while COVID-19 shut down in-person shopping, the shop stayed open during the pandemic. But that didn't stop Evanston kids from having their own clothing hauls.
They also have the ability since COVID to fill out a curbside form.
Eska's boutique is welcoming in-person shopping appointments again, but most donations of clothes only fit younger kids. Volunteer buyers use monetary donations to fill this gap. From inside the wardrobe, Liz Castello, Northwestern News Network.
To volunteer with Eska, visit escca.org/volunteer.
After interviewing several candidates, the city has named Shanita Stewart as its new police chief. Currently the deputy chief of police in East Dundee, Stewart grew up in Evanston and graduated from Evanston Township High School. City Manager Luke Stowe says the community was heavily involved in the selection process.
Yeah, I think they definitely want someone who's going to be very much community-oriented, community-focused, and I think Shanita Stewart is going to do a great job at that.
Stewart will assume her new position on October 10th and will be sworn in at that evening's City Council meeting.
Bean and Dean Tawny Marie Montgomery will be stepping down after this school year. She made history as Northwestern's first African-American dean and the first female dean of the Beanin School of Music. Montgomery's 20-year tenure includes the building of the Lakefront Patrick G. and Shirley W. Ryan Center for the Musical Arts and a lasting partnership with the Chicago Symphony Orchestra. After August 30th, Montgomery will assume a tenured professor position at Northwestern. The search for a new Beanin dean is still underway.
Up next, Norris no longer runs on Dunkin' and why Starbucks is stirring up controversy.
And Ramen and Boba shops bursting on the scene in Evanston. We'll be right back.
At Northwestern, we're wildcats in every way.
Cheer you all the go. Go you Northwestern, fight for victory, sweet victory, spread for the fame of our fair name, and go Northwestern, win that game. Go Cats!
At Northwestern University, we are pioneering innovation and achieving excellence across every imaginable discipline. Northwestern University, the possibilities are endless.
Welcome back. Northwestern University has started a new initiative focusing on inclusion among faculty. NNN's Sabrina Carson tells us more.
Northwestern's Feinberg School of Medicine recently received a $16 million grant that will promote equity and increase diversity.
The grant specifically calls for the institution to hire over a period of a few years underrepresented faculty.
Dr. Melissa Simon has been named one of the 3 primary investigators for this grant.
Across the country, there are very few senior level or professor level faculty who are tenured and from underrepresented backgrounds.
The grant is referred to as Nurture, after the acronym Northwestern University Recruitment to Transform Underrepresentation and Achieve Equity.
Things like climate surveys, individual interviews, working with evaluators who have a variety of lived experiences.
Dr. Bennett Goldberg is one of the 2 leads in the evaluation corps.
Ensuring that, that we really dig into some of the hindrances that have made our institution and many other institutions not as welcoming as they need to be.
Though Nurture has only just begun, faculty from across the university are eager to set this project in motion.
Develop mechanisms for cultivating these faculty as they begin their career.
Sabrina Carson, Northwestern News Network.
Thanks, Sabrina.
The Jewish holiday of Yom Kippur begins at sundown tomorrow night. The holiday is considered the most solemn religious holiday on the Jewish calendar and is marked by a full-day fast. Northwestern Hillel is offering a variety of programming for students, including pre-fast dinners, services, and meditation sessions.
Yom Kippur is sort of designed to be not a reckoning between you and other people, but sort of this moment where you reconcile yourself and between yourself and God.
It's not required, but students are encouraged to RSVP on the Hillel website.
With the new school year, students may see new construction on the ground level of Norris. NNN's Katrina Pham tells us what's brewing.
This year, Norris looks a little different.
Coming downstairs for the first time, like August 30th, and seeing walls, seeing her face, it's really hurtful, actually.
The Dunkin' Donuts on Norris's ground floor gone as the iconic Starbucks mermaid is set to take its place.
My friends are obsessed with Dunkin', so it'll be fun to see them feel bad about it.
Norris announcing plans to remove Dunkin' Donuts, move Starbucks to a bigger space downstairs, and put in Shake Smart, a smoothie shop on the first floor.
We have a really exciting smoothie concept that we're looking at that will go in place of the old Starbucks.
While the Starbucks will be bigger, students' wallets may get smaller. A 16-ounce plain iced coffee at Starbucks costs 66 cents more than the same size at Dunkin'.
The amount of money you have to spend at Norbucks to get the same thing you would at Dunkin', no one's paying that amount 5 days a week.
The change stirring up some new coffee drinking habits.
I could definitely get a Keurig, definitely just like, if I really needed it, dining hall coffee, it is there. Just maybe even weaning myself off of coffee.
Students mixing up their caffeine routines. From Norris University Center, Katrina Pham, Northwestern News Network.
Thanks, Katrina. The new Starbucks location will open this March.
McCormick School of Engineering and Applied Science, Northwestern's second largest undergraduate school, recently changed its academic curriculum, starting with the 2022-2023 academic year. The most notable change, fully eliminating the mandatory 5-class basic engineering requirement for all McCormick majors. Instead, each major program will create its own requirements for these 5 units. The change comes after a review of the curriculum found that students specifically in industrial engineering and computer science weren't benefiting as strongly from the basic engineering courses.
Increasingly, we heard from faculty in those programs that this is sort of missed opportunity. Not that they object to the idea of learning some engineering foundations, but could their students' needs be better served by using those available pieces of credit in other ways.
Though first years will have to abide by these changes, sophomores and upperclassmen have the option to either switch to the new curriculum or keep the old requirements. McCormick students should reach out to your advisor with any questions on whether the new requirements are right for them.
For most Northwestern professors, campus is just where they work, but to others, it's also where they sleep. NNN's Caitlin Bender-Thomas has more on the Faculty and Residence program and this year's newest member.
After nearly 30 years of commuting to campus from South Evanston, Medill professor Dr. Ava Thompson Greenwell is filing stories from a new address. She's now the South Area's Faculty and Residence.
I thought this would be the perfect opportunity for me to re-engage with students, and not just Medill students, but students in a variety of fields.
Looking to get to know students outside of her classes.
I just get a lot of joy and a lot of fulfillment talking with students, working with them, mentoring them.
Living right here in Shepherd Hall, Dr. Greenwell is in the midst of student life, and some students say it makes professors seem more human.
For me, going through such big changes and moving into a new space, it feels better knowing that there's also a professor or like an adult that is like years ahead of me that are also kind of going through the same changes.
Dr. Greenwell will host weekly traditions like Therapeutic Thursdays and Feed Your Soul Saturday Brunch Club.
Students present in a much more anxious way than maybe they did 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. And so I'm just using that insight there to see if I can develop some programming that really helps students.
She also plans to create a Zen Den to provide students with a space to switch off and relax.
Maybe they just need 10 minutes to decompress, before they head to that calculus class or that organic chemistry class.
Faculty making Northwestern a home away from home. Caitlin Bender-Thomas, Northwestern News Network.
And students can stay up to date on South Area programming by following at NU South Area on Instagram.
Evanston is a small suburb of about 8 square miles, but ramen and boba options in town exceed that number. NNN's Jenny Ha explores why such shops might be booming.
This right here is boba, also known as bubble tea, and this is Japanese-style ramen. In downtown Evanston, there are more than 10 stores that serve boba and or ramen, and new ones are still appearing.
I am a little bit confused. I just don't know how necessary they are.
There's no one answer to the why, but one explanation: our college town is an ideal location.
I don't think we can overlook the Asian influence of the university.
And many of the ramen and boba shop owners would agree.
Northwestern students have a big impact on there.
Moji tea is the newest bubble tea edition. Gao says he thought they could stand out with fresh ingredients like fruit and taro.
We are different than the other place. We don't use powder.
Some business owners say their menus are essential to the college experience.
Evanston, big college town, no ramen shop, big problem. Us being the first ramen shop up in Evanston, you can imagine it was crazy opening day.
And from an economic stance,
the market dictates, for the most part, what opens in a space. Really up to the landlord.
Zalmazak says the market trend right now emphasizes ramen and boba, perhaps leading to the rise in our own backyard.
A few years ago, we had the same question about burger shops. Why are there so many burger shops? It was a trend, like gourmet burgers was a thing. I think ramen's a trend.
As for which of these many shops will stick around for the years to come,
it's too early to tell.
And for students, plenty of culture to slurp from. Jenny Huh, Northwestern News Network.
Thanks, Jenny. According to Ellen Golden, Evanston's licensing coordinator, 2 new ramen shops are just about ready to open. Hokkaido Ramen House and Tonichi Ramen are completing their licensing, which means final certification and/or final inspection.
Don't go away. Coming up, we've got an exclusive with the first dog of Northwestern.
At Northwestern, we're Wildcats in every way.
Cheer you all the go. Go you Northwestern, fight for victory, sweet victory, spread for the fame of our fair name, and go Northwestern, win that game. Go Cats!
Northwestern President Michael Schill moved across the country this summer, but he didn't do it alone. NNN's Andrew Rowan explains.
How do you like this, Max?
It's a story you've probably heard before.
When I was growing up, my parents wouldn't let me have a dog because they rightfully believed that I wouldn't take care of it.
Just maybe not from a university president.
When I became president of the University of Oregon, I said, well, I really want a dog, but everyone thought that with my travel, that I wouldn't be able to take care of them.
But then COVID happened.
They were all probably worried about my sanity, and so they said, yeah, let's get a dog.
And after reference checks, some calls, and waiting,
there were no dogs available.
Max arrived to the doorstep of new Northwestern president Michael Schill.
Yes. I mean, it's been wonderful. I mean, he is the best dog.
Max came from a Texas shelter, and Schill doesn't know much about his history. He estimates his canine companion is now between 5 and 7 years old.
He loves Evanston. I mean, he loves the campus. I mean, just think of if you were a dog, all the places that you could go.
Don't be afraid to say hi if you see the duo walking around campus.
A lot of times students have left dogs at home, and so they miss their dogs, and so they're always welcome for a good pet.
Although president of the Wildcats, Schill is proving a dog is still man's best friend.
What do you see? What do you see?
Andrew Rowan, Northwestern News Network.
Thanks, Andrew.
Well, that's all for tonight. I'm Ela Jalcao.
And I'm Julia Richardson. Good night.